So good afternoon, dear students. So as you all know, in the last period we learned about the red-headed leak first part. Now what is the second part? What happened next? Dr. Watson's account. Well, Watson, what do you think of it all? Asked Mr. Holmes after Mr. Wilson had left. I make nothing of it. I answered frankly. Holmes sat silently for some time and then invited me to go out with him. We went to the square where Mr. Wilson had its shop. Holmes observed the area carefully. There were many shops and offices in the square, and a bank just behind Mr. Wilson's shop. Holmes spent some time outside the shop and thumbed upon the pavement 2 or 3 times. Finally, he knocked on Mr. Wilson's door. A young man opened the door. Mr. Holmes asked him the way to the Strand. The assistant answered the question and quickly closed the door. I said, I am sure that you inquired your way only in order to see him. Not him, Holmes said, but the knees of his trousers. And what did you see? What I expected to see. This matter of Wilson is serious. A crime is being planned, but I hope that we can stop it. The offices and banks will be closed for the weekend. Now I have to go and make some arrangement, but I shall want your help tonight. Come to Baker Street at 10 and bring your revolver. I arrived at Holmes' residence in time. There were 2 other men with him, Mr. Jones of Scotland Yard and Mr. Merriweather, a banker. Holmes announced tonight we are going to hunt one of the smartest criminals in London. We left together in a carriage and reached the road we had visited in the morning. Holmes told us to follow Mr. Merriweather, who led us through an iron gate. We followed him down a narrow passage. After going down some stone step, he led us down a dark, earth-smelling passage and into a huge cellar full of big boxes. We all sat on the boxes. We are in the cellar of the city branch of one of the main banks in London. Mr. Merriweather is the chairman of the bank, and he will tell you why a criminal should take an interest in the cellar at present, said Holmes. Mr. Merriweather explained that the bank had borrowed a huge quantity of gold from the Bank of France and the boxes in the cellar were full of gold. Holmes expected the criminals to act that very night. We had to wait there in total darkness without making any noise to take the criminal by surprise. They have but one escape route, whispered Holmes. This is back through Mr. Wilson's house. I hope that some men are waiting at Mr. Wilson's door, Mr. Jones. I have an inspector and 2 officers waiting at the door. Then we have stopped all the holes. Now we must be silent and wait. We waited silently for more than an hour. It was pitch dark in the cellar. Then suddenly a point of bright light appeared in the floor of the cellar. Then a line and a gash seemed to open up. A hand appeared. A broad stone turned over upon its side and left a square hole. A boyish face emerged. The man looked about and came out of the hole. He had a companion with him, a man with very red hair. The pair was none other than Spaulding the assistant, Elias the criminal, Clay, and red-headed Mr. Duncan Ross. As soon as they climbed out of the hole, Sherlock Holmes sprang out and seized Clay by the collar. The other dived down the hole and disappeared. Clay took out a revolver, but Holmes hit him on his wrist and the revolver fell down on the floor. It's no use, John Clay, said Holmes. We have caught you. So I see, but my friend has escaped. Holmes replied, he cannot escape. There are 3 men waiting for him at the other end. Then Holmes handed over Mr. Clay to the policeman. Mr. Merriweather said, really, Mr. Holmes, I did not know how to thank you. You have foiled one of the most cunning attempts at bank robbery. The bank is grateful to you. You see, Watson, Holmes said after we reached his home, it was obvious from the first day the only possible object of the strange advertisement and the peculiar job was to get Mr. Wilson away from his shop for some hours every day. The red-headed leak was a clever idea. In Mr. Wilson's absence, Clay and his red-headed companion wanted to dig an underground tunnel from Mr. Wilson's house to the bank. Then they would be able to enter the bank and steal the gold without breaking or opening the doors of the bank. Using the tunnel, they entered the cellar. They planned to steal the gold and go back to Mr. Wilson's house again through the tunnel and then get away. But how could you guess what their motive was? When I heard that the assistant worked for half the wages, I became suspicious. Using Mr. Wilson's description of his assistant, I made inquiries. I found that he was the criminal Clay. Why was he working in Mr. Wilson's shop? And his habit of going into the cellar every now and then. I inferred that he must be digging a tunnel to some other building. When he visited the shop, I beat upon the pavement with the stick to find out whether the cellar stretched out in front or behind. It was not in front. I saw the bank on the other side of the house and guessed what the criminal had in mind. When Clay answered the bell, the knees of his trousers were wrinkled and stained. It confirmed my suspicion that he was digging. You know the rest of the story. You reasoned it beautifully, I exclaimed in admiration. This means that the man who was digging, the Mr. Clay was digging the hole inside the tunnel. He was digging a tunnel to the from Mr. Watson home to the bank. It was all pre-planned. The red-headed lake was all pre-planned. So he used to go every now and then to the cellar to take photographs because his hobby was to take photograph. But this was not true. Mr. Holmes find out that he was digging a hole and he made two policemen stand at the corner and then they caught all the criminals and saved the robbery. So this is the lesson, the red-headed leaf. Now you should do this workshop, English workshop as your homework, and in the next chapter we should learn lesson 4.4 Home Sweet Home. Thank you.